Engine failed, the primary car finished. Entered Scott Brayton, looking for his second consecutive Indy pole, but he could muster only 2:31 and a half. With an hour to go, the drama intensified. Lyondike came to pit road with his backup car, practiced at over 233 miles per hour. Though drained by the events of the day and thinking that Stewart was his rival, Ari announced that he was ready to go for the pole.
Not quite there. 233.058 on the speed lap number 2.
But Ari upped the ante on the last 2 trips around the speedway.
And he did it. And listen to this. 234.742 miles an hour.
From the brink of disaster, Lyondike had come back to claim the pole. The other contenders had all taken their best shot. Or had they? But Scott Brayton would not go quietly into the night. He proposed to car owner Menard an unprecedented move. Let's pull a qualified car off of row 2 and take one more crack at the pole. The drama concluded 15 minutes from the end of the day.
And he did it. He did it. A new 4-lap record.
History will recall that Lyondike eventually took back that record, but it is the pole that matters. The pole for which Brayton rolled the dice. And this is how many will remember Scott Brayton taking the big gamble and coming away the smiling. When we come back, Scott's friend and former car owner, Dick Simon.
Where do you go in the South Bay to find the hottest place, the hippest crowd, the most fun? Del Amo Motorsports. You'll find the motorcycles and watercrafts that everyone is looking for at the only motorsports dealer in the South Bay. We carry Kawasaki, Ducati, Suzuki, Yamaha, Sea-Doo, and Jet Ski. We have the new line of Suzukis in stock, including the Intruder and the all-new GSXR 750. A complete line of helmets and accessories, and a great service department. So what are you waiting for? Come to Del Amo Motorsports, 1512 Aviation, 2 blocks south of Artesia.
In a perfect world, you'd find the perfect car salesman.
Morning.
He'd be a great listener. He'd show you a car with the features you need, all included for one low sticker price. And he'd never resort to pricing gimmicks or hard sell. Unfortunately, the world's not perfect.
Morning.
But with General Motors value pricing, you'll be surprised how close we're getting. Of course, there are still a few things beyond our control.
We were different. I was from Queens. He was from Illinois. He was a Republican. I was a Democrat. But it didn't matter. Because what we shared was a love of baseball. And that huge government check he received every month.
Of course, I'd like to thank the Hallman George family for putting this incredible race on. It's been a big part of my life growing up in racing, and I've really enjoyed being here. I really want to thank Team Menard. I want to thank John Menard personally and Larry Curry, who's assembled a wonderful race team. It's been a thrill to drive, and Quaker State, Glidden, and Menards for sponsoring us and staying behind us and just giving us the opportunity to go out and do the job. And most of all, I want to be sure and send all of our love and our warmest and deepest thoughts to Stan Fox and his family, and we'll see you at the racetrack next year. Thank you.
And indeed, Scott Brayton and Stan Fox were both back at the Brickyard this year. Scott sporting that new butch haircut that looked a lot different from that piece of videotape. They were making jokes. And, of course, him with all his many friends. And one of his best friends joins us now, Dick Simon, for whom Scott drove before joining Team Menard. I know you, first of all, I appreciate you coming here on what I know is a very difficult day. Your relationship with this guy, first of all, let's put that into perspective. It was certainly a great deal more than just owner-driver.
Well, there's no way, of course, that anybody can take the place of Lee, his father, who lived every moment of Scott's life with him as a previous race driver, he and I competed. I remember the time when Lee came over to get my help on setups for his son. And it goes way back to many, many years ago. And Scott, to my wife and I, was like a son. He's very much a professional and loved racing beyond anything else in this world, other than his wife, Becky. He loved her for probably about 16 years that I know of.
There's more to that story, too, isn't there? You were a bit of a matchmaker and all that. Tell me the story of how the two of them actually tied the knot.
Well, I kind of enjoy seeing two people who love each other get together. And I remember that Scotty and Becky were going together for a long time, and they were going to get married, and the announcements were out, and Becky got cold feet. And then they decided to continue to go together. For a number of years, they continued to go together. And finally, I thought, somebody has to do something about this. So my wife and I said to Scotty, we're not going to pay you any more money till you and Becky get married. And so we started accumulating the prize money, and they got married, and 2.5 years ago, they had their first child. And it's just unfortunate.
The fans see the guy in the car, just the helmet flashing by at 220, or maybe standing in victory lane holding the pole check. It's a little difficult to fully appreciate the guy inside that helmet. What kind of guy was he? Was that smile genuine? Was he as much fun as he seemed to be?
Well, you know, we've had a lot of drivers drive for us over the years, and I'd have to say I got closer to Scotty as an individual than anybody I've ever known. He's probably the finest person I've ever known. I don't think he ever said a lie, at least to me, in his whole life. He lived for racing, and he lived for his family now, the last few years. He had the golden opportunity, and it was coming true. He was so excited, he came over and he told my wife and I, he says, it's like I've died and gone to heaven. You know, it's a terrible statement under the circumstances, but Scotty felt that he had, through John Menard and the providing of the car, he felt he had his win of the Indianapolis 500 for 1995. The pole position, today he was running, I was talking to his father at the hospital, and he told me, he says, Dick, I don't understand it. He usually talks to me if something's going wrong, and he had just ran 17 laps within 0.2 of a second on full loads. He could just feel, and he was like he was in heaven. He's just floating around a racetrack at speeds that would obviously win the Indianapolis 500. This was Scotty's year, but God decided, I guess, that he needed him more than we do.
It's the classic. We use the cliche. We take our comfort from the cliche. He died doing what he loved. We heard it from Ron Hemmelgarn. At that moment, he truly was doing what he loved, wasn't he?
Well, I feel comfortable for Scotty because I feel that he must have accomplished everything that God wanted him to do on this earth, or he wouldn't be gone. And I feel sorry for Becky and the family because now they've got to go on in life without that beautiful, you know, it's like a flower. I mean, it smells good, it looks good, and it is good. And that's what Scotty was to everybody. He didn't have just selected friends. The whole world was his friends. Amway had 3 million distributors when we were sponsored 6 years by them. Every one of those 3 million distributors loves Scotty to this day. He made a lot of determination on whether their lives were going to be successful or not. He touched so many people. I've never seen anybody touch so many people.
I don't think anybody could have said it better, Dick. Thank you very much for being here. When we come back, reaction from elsewhere in the racing world and the thoughts of USAC historian Donald Davidson. Stay with us.
In racing, there's no margin for error. The crew follows the same procedures every time the car pulls into the pits. It's the same way at Jiffy Lube. We follow the same strict procedures more than 50,000 times a day. It's your assurance that when you bring your car to Jiffy Lube, the job will be done right. And Jiffy Lube offers Pennzoil. Jiffy Lube, the world's most experienced oil changers. That's why if it doesn't say Jiffy Lube, it just isn't Jiffy Lube.
C-Bike. Want bike? Buy bike. Get free helmet. Right now, during Suzuki Fest Summer, when you buy a sleek, responsive Katana 600 or 750, you get a hot Katana helmet totally free. Wow! You can also get some incredible deals, like 0 down, low monthly payments, or low APR financing. So come on into your participating Suzuki dealer. Get a hot new Katana, a great deal, and a free helmet to hide that silly grin.
Sunday, May 26th, the top IndyCar drivers in the world, Emerson Fittipaldi, will come to Michigan International Speedway. Al Unser Jr., to take the green flag. In the dawning of a new era in motor racing. The first ever US 500. Live from Michigan International Speedway. 2 p.m. Only on ESPN.
It's a game with unmatched history.
Today, I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth.
Filled with great players and great moments. Now, Sports Illustrated brings you SI's exclusive classic baseball collection. You'll get the extraordinary 2-video box set, The History of Baseball, and the classic baseball cap of your choice, both free with your paid subscription to SI. Choose your cap from any of 4 historic teams. The Brooklyn Dodgers of 1955, the 1951 New York Giants, the 1975 Boston Red Sox, or the legendary New York Yankees. Call now and get SI's classic baseball collection free when you order 54 issues of SI for only $1.48 an issue. Save over 55% off the cover price. Use your credit card. Don't miss out on the classic baseball collection from Sports Illustrated. Get into it.
Welcome back to Speed Week. The death of Scott Brayton was the first at Indianapolis since Joby Marcello was killed in a 1992 crash during practice. Reaction came quickly from throughout the racing community and was a measure of Scott's popularity. Dave McClellan was standing by at Englishtown, New Jersey for our weekly NHRA drag racing preview when news of today's tragedy reached the track.
The tragic death of Scott Brayton at Indianapolis today is a loss that is being felt throughout the entire motorsports community. Certainly the drivers in NHRA Championship drag racing are not immune to the emotion when they find out that a star driver, the pole sitter at the Indianapolis 500, has lost his life in a racing accident. Here are some of their thoughts.
Knew him pretty well, a nice young man, and gosh, it's a sad day. I feel badly for his parents and for his wife and the kids. It's just a tough deal. For all of us from the Budweiser King team, Cheryl, myself, we're very sad.
For this tragedy to happen with Scott, it's just, it's hard to believe. And my prayers just go out to his family and everybody. It just put a dark cloud over it for me. And I just feel sorry for the whole racing community and his family, everybody. It's a tragedy.
It sickens me. It shows you the value of life, things that we take for granted, and the people that will be hurt, at his loss. But I think the only thing that, that I just think the feeling is that he did what he loved. And if that's what you're doing and you're happy, whatever the outcome, that's all you got. It's just sad.
For NHRA and for all the racers and fans gathered here, we want to express our heartfelt sympathies to the Brayton family. For Speed Week, I'm Dave McClellan.
All right, thank you, Dave. Jimmy Vassar would have been Brayton's kart counterpart next Sunday. He'll start from the pole in the competing US 500 in Michigan, but he was visiting the Brickyard today at the time of the fatal crash, and he issued a statement that said in part, and we quote, "I went to the hospital as a friend. My thoughts and prayers are with Becky and the Brayton family. Scott was a great driver. I raced with him for many years. He probably was the most liked guy out there. He always had a smile on his face." At the Speedway this afternoon, USAC historian Donald Davidson had this reaction to the death of a guy who was something of an historian himself.
Scotty Brayton loved the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. He grew up listening to the race on the radio as a kid. He came here as a kid. His father tried to qualify 72 through 74, so there was much jubilation in the Brayton family when he first qualified in 1981. But unlike most of the drivers that we've ever known, he cherished the history of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and he was most interested in how he fitted in with all the drivers that he had read about. As the stats began to pile up, he was always keeping a track on who had more starts in history than he had. And he knew that nobody had ever won the pole 3 years in a row. Having won it now for the second time in a row, he knew that tied the record. And amazingly enough, just the other day, we asked him if he could name the 8 drivers who preceded him, and he got them all. He simply loved the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and its history. He had a wonderful rapport with the media and with the fans. People were beginning to liken him to Eddie Sachs because of his great humor. Scotty Brayton was great for the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. He goes down in history, and we will remember him for a long, long time. Our hearts go out to the Brayton family.
Thank you, Donald. Back with a final thought in a moment.
Remember when brakes were this simple? Today's braking systems are more complicated than ever. Still, Midas will keep them in top condition. They'll even guarantee new brake shoes and pads for as long as you own your car, even if it becomes a classic.
Hi, I'm Kyle Petty. Open up a whole new world of truck accessories with Dahl's Better Built products. The name says it all. If it's not better built, it's not.
Extreme heat. It can cause chemical changes in motor oil that can destroy your car's engine. Fortunately, there's Quaker State motor oil, proven to exceed the highest standards car makers have established for protection against the destructive effects of heat. What's the state of your motor oil? Quaker State exceeds the highest standards for engine protection.
Look for the Quaker State 360 rebate during National Car Care Days, plus additional savings from these manufacturers at participating retailers.
The only weapon more potent than Jaromir Jagr is Mario Lemieux, and Pittsburgh's got them both. But Van Beesbrook just grounded the Flyers, and the Panthers are on the prowl. It's the conference finals as the Penguins take on the Panthers tomorrow at 7:30.
A promotional fee for tonight's edition of Speed Week provided by CarQuest. For all your auto parts needs, you'll find it at CarQuest. And so we come to this all too familiar moment of pain that is part and parcel of a dangerous sport. But I take a cue from Donald Davidson, and I think that Scott Brayton, race car driver and speedway historian of sorts, might like it if we took the long view of his loss. No, he won't set a speedway record for starts or for consecutive poles, but he will rest with the greats of the 500, and we think of one in particular. I have no doubt that Scott Brayton would appreciate being likened in character to another fun-loving, popular, and eminently talented driver, Eddie Sachs. Both men dealt so well with the pressure of the brickyard, putting the crew, the fans, their families at ease, never taking themselves too seriously. But make no mistake about it, behind that smile and the one-liners were a couple of lion hearts, devoted to the greatest race of them all. Scott Brayton will now sit on the 500 pole forever, swapping stories with Sachs and laughing into eternity. Godspeed, Scotty.